Big Drive Energy, Wacky Wednesday edition. We're back in a groove a little bit. We did the pod on Monday. We have the pod Wednesday, and there's a tournament coming up tomorrow. It's not starting today. I feel like we're starting to get in a groove with it. I am at Big Drive Spence. He's at Big Drive Mitch. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Big Drive Energy. We're going to talk about pace of play. Shocker. No, we're not going to get too deep into it, but a couple of new things have happened since Monday's pod that may help pace of play. And then we've got a comment from Michael Kim, who is great on Twitter, one of the best Twitter followers. I don't know how he's not in the pit, but I get that it's a popularity contest, much like All-Stars and Pro Bowls and other sports. But Michael Kim is truly one of the best follows on Twitter if you're a golf fan. And then we're also going to preview Pebble Beach coming up this weekend, the Pebble Beach AT&T Pro-Am, and talk about the TGL and the match Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, which really did it boost the numbers? Did it save the TGL? It was definitely dramatic. Definitely, I think if it was your first time tuning in, you definitely got a different feel than the first three matches, even with the Tiger bump. I think the actual play and the competition was more what they were looking for. But we'll get into all that right after this. All right, let's tee it up. Big Drive Energy Wednesday edition. What's up, dude? How you doing? How was your last couple days? I know you're going to MSG tonight. I'm taking a current break from the Nuggets. I don't think I'm going to watch the game. I've been like irrationally mad at the Nuggets Monday night and then the Avs last night that I've like gone to bed early, pissed off, and I'm not drinking either. That's the crazy thing. Like, not that I'm not like on some dry January or anything like that, but usually when I get this angry, it's strictly due to whiskey and or alcohol. I'm watching the game, I'm pissed off, I'm drinking. And the last two games, I've just been unbelievably mad and tweeting. I think I tweeted "This call can suck my dick" last night. And I'm sober, drop dead sober at 7 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, it's not great news
that
you're admitting fully that that alcohol makes you angry. Maybe that's a sign for you to fucking stop drinking. You really aren't like an angry person when you drink. I don't know. I guess your emotions just get a little ramped up, you could say, and mine do too. I mean, but yeah, the Nuggets 2 nights ago infuriated me. It felt like the Bulls just could not miss a 3-pointer. So I was just laying in bed fucking pissed off. I kind of threw the remote in my girlfriend's direction, and she didn't really like that very much. It was like similar to golf. It wasn't a club throw, it was a toss. But I was like, get off me. I changed it to friends because that's what she likes to fall asleep to. Change it to friends with like a minute and a half left. I'm like, this fucking shit's over. Threw it over there. She's like, whoa. I'm like, I'm allowed to be angry, okay? And the Nuggets, I will say, I think I don't know if we've discussed this on the pod or not, but the Nuggets make me the most angry for some reason. Like, I don't get as pissed off at the Avalanche, and I don't get as pissed off at the Broncos. I get sad when the Broncos lose and kind of like confused and like indifferent when the Avs lose. But when the Nuggets lose, I get genuinely pissed because it feels like they should win every game. And then I was thinking about this game that I'm going to tonight at MSG. Shout out Greg Gomez. I don't know if he's on this stream or not, but he is meeting me at MSG, and we're going to go have a few cocktails beforehand. So I'm looking forward to that shit. And he's like rooting openly against the Nuggets. So, you know, it's whatever, but he's never been to MSG before. So he's going to get to check it out. It's dope. But I was thinking this morning, like, I'm kind of planning on the Nuggets losing this game. And I don't know the last Nuggets game I went to where I think they have a chance, but I'm not going to be surprised if they lose this game. And it's been a few years since I've been to a basketball game like that. So I'm just kind of preparing myself for the worst, hoping that we can come out on the other side of it. But I mean, the Knicks are a wagon right now. I know it's it doesn't seem like a great time, but I think it could be. The Nuggets right now are 15-1 to win the title, which I think are pretty good odds if you want to lay a little action out there. So I saw 15-1. I don't mind that. What do you would you throw action on them? Like, I know you're just the negative Nancy, so you're not big on that, but I mean, this is probably the highest their odds have been all year.
Yeah, I mean, I am the negative Nancy, and with the current state I'm in, maybe it's worth placing a bet on. But yeah, I've been so irrationally pissed off at them, and like losing to the Bulls when they got waxed by the Timberwolves over the weekend. I was like, all right, that's fair. You know, it's Timberwolves. It's like we're their Super Bowl every time we play them. They just bring all the juice, and I can't figure out how that team's around 500. It seems insane by watching them play us. But then Monday night, you have a lead, you lose to a pretty disheveled team, which also seems pretty good on paper. But yeah, no, it's worth tossing a little action out there, getting on the Nuggies. I think they have a good chance as anybody to reach the Western Conference Finals. And then, you know, if they have to play, if they don't get the 2 seed or the 3 seed and they have to play Oklahoma City, we'll see. Still think they're a little too young to win a title. You kind of have to go through those growing pains. We've seen that with the Nuggets, but much like the Avs, I kind of expect a trade shakeup for the Nugs here coming soon. I don't think, like, we didn't expect it with the Avs, and I think it's kind of the same way with the Nuggets. We're not expecting it, but something might come down and kind of change the franchise. I don't think that necessarily helps or hurts us. Obviously, have to see who the pieces are that we get or give up. But overall, I think they're in a good a position as they can be in the West.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I mean, the only team I would pick over them in a 7-game series is the Thunder right now, just because they're so fucking deep. But do you think that De'Aaron Fox for Michael Porter Jr. is an actual possibility? Like, I guess partially because he's a point guard and we already have Russ and Jamal, but De'Aaron Fox is just a really good scorer. He's a really good basketball player. And then we could push Russ back to the bench and start Jamal with De'Aaron and just kind of make the starting lineup a little bit smaller, I guess. But I don't know. What do you think of that? Like, is that crazy?
I think adding that type of talent, Michael Porter Jr. is a very talented player, but also a certain type of talent. I think adding a scorer slasher, like I think him with Nikola would be unreal. But at the same point, like you said, he's playing a position that we kind of already have locked in a little bit. I'd like to see more of a wing player, but getting that kind of talent, if it comes of it, I'm going to be happy. I've just really dove into the fact that I root for the front of the jersey, not the back of the jersey. And it's like I don't know if it's a sickness. I don't know what it is. Nikola Jokic is maybe the only player in the world that changes that for me. Like if he were to go somewhere else, I might actually become a pseudo fan of that team or still root for him. But to me, you leave my team that I root for, I couldn't care less about you anymore. Good riddance, get out of here. And I'm gonna glaze the absolute life out of the guys that came over to us in a trade. So I'm a biased opinion on that. I can't really answer that question fully, but I will say between the Nuggets and the Avs and just my irrational anger, they're still two of the best teams in the leagues, in their respective leagues. But I literally last night out loud to my wife said, I said excited, and excited is not the right word, but I'm almost ready for them to both be mediocre again. And this is the dumbest thing I've ever said, and I'm fully acknowledging that. And going into every night, wondering if they're going to win or if they're going to lose. Because
not
right
expecting
now,
them to win. Yeah.
Every single night they lace up the skates or get on the ice or, get on the floor. I expect them to win the game. And I think that's good. Expectations mean your team is good. But at the same time, as a fan, it's like, for fuck's sake, every game they lose, it's the middle of January. These games don't matter. I'm like, I got little devil over here on my shoulder and fucking angel over here, and they're fighting each other, and my head's just in a blender.
Yeah, that little devil's like, go jump off this fucking roof right now because your favorite team just lost a meaningless game in January. Yeah, that I get irrationally angry. I have a few other things that I want to bring up, just topical, non-golf things. I know this sounds weird, but do you ever just crave hot dogs? Like, I was at the store today and I was like, fucking hot dogs for lunch just sounds so good. And I'm like trying not to eat carbs or anything, so I stayed away from the buns. But I bought a pack of hot dogs, threw those in a pan, got a nice like brown on them, threw some cheese on them, and threw them in a. I basically made like hot dog quesadilla with the low carb tortillas. That shit was gas with a little ketchup on there. Holy shit! Like
I thought you were just mouthing cooked raw hot dogs alone, which I do, but I would never say on a podcast that I do that 100%.
you're
Maybe
more of
I
a
just
Vienna
outed myself,
sausage
but
guy. You
I
like it. You like it a little smaller.
I like I like the short stubby ones. I feel like I can get a good handle on them. I actually made my son lunch today before the nanny came over, and he got hot dogs, pickles, some crackers, and some blueberries. So very kind of similar to what the
So
diet
I eat
you're on
like
is
your toddler, but
my
without the
1-year-old.
fruit.
So
No fruit in
yeah,
mine.
you eat like my toddler, but and a little more buttoned up most of the time at the
Yeah. So
table.
there is just nothing better than a fucking grilled up hot dog. Like it is truly a top 5 food for me, and I am still on the like. I feel like hot dogs are something that's somewhat gotten phased out. Milk is definitely something that's gotten phased out, and everybody thinks I'm a fucking sicko because I just still like a good glass of milk. But I don't know if it's just a fucking nostalgia thing where I eat a hot dog and it takes me back to my childhood, or drinking a glass of milk. But that shit hits. I'm not gonna lie. Number 2, I've been watching Ted Lasso lately. I'm late to the party. But our aunt and uncle told me, they're like, that's one of our favorite shows. You got to watch it. And it came out a while ago. I think it came out in 2021. So I am very late, but fucking phenomenal show. Like, isn't it great when you find a show that's been around that you haven't watched and you find it and you're like, how have I not watched this earlier? But you're also kind of low key glad that you haven't. So you get to watch it now.
Yeah, that's a constant battle for me as well, and I think that's one of the biggest first world problems that we have nowadays is like I'll go on. I don't get many nights of watching non-sports, which maybe with this little hiatus, I might get some more TV in. But TV time for me is summertime, and even then, my beloved Rockies, when they're on the TV, they're going to be playing every single night of the summer. But overall, summer is where I really dive into my TV shows because if it's Nuggets, Avs, NFL football, TGL on Mondays or Tuesdays, like those things consume.
the way
Those things
the way you're
consume
like
my.
Nuggets Avs TGL, like you fucking
Those
get
consume
so
my
excited.
viewing purposes. Miss Rachel, of course, she's the goat in the house. But no, I really haven't gotten a chance to get into shows, and finding a new show is so tough. But I feel like once you like, it was me or Succession. I tried to watch the first episode like 2 or 3 different times. Finally got into it, and then just hammered it out. What's the
Great
Penguin?
show.
Same thing. Like
Great
once I
show.
watched the one episode of the Penguin, I was into it. But finding a new show, I think, is so hard for me. And I generally pick my times because I know if I'm about to go to bed in like an hour and a half, 2 hours, I generally won't like to start a new series of a show. So I watched on Saturday night, sports were over. Both of our teams sucked dick during the middle of the day. So we got to move on to the night and have some TV time. And I watched the Connor Stallions Michigan doc on Netflix, and it was kind of electric. Like I enjoyed it, but it was only an hour and a half commitment of my time. I watched that. I went to bed. I get a little like worried when I start a show and I'm like, well, I could keep watching episodes till 11 midnight, 1 a.m. And then all of a sudden my kid's up in 5 hours. I'm pissed off that I stayed up so late, and it's a kind of a cycle. So I'm very calculated with how I pick my shows and when I pick them, because I know a lot of the show, there's so many good shows out there that I'd love, but I just start binging them and another episode. And instead of just getting pissed at your team and going to bed at 7:45 like I did last night.
Yeah, see, I'm more of the mindset where I'll watch like 3 or 4 if they're like half-hour episodes in a night, but then I just get super excited that I have a show to like watch that I kind of keep in my back pocket. If there's no like, basically one of the first things Missy says to me when she walks through the door from work every night is, "What are we watching? Like what's on TV? What show?" And she knows she's kind of gotten it that if the Nuggets or Avs are on, generally speaking, that takes priority. But then she's like, "What show are we watching? Are we watching Goosebumps? Are we watching?" Which this new season hasn't been as good as like the last one, but Abbott Elementary's been a big one we've been into. I've actually watched American Primeval by myself. I don't think Missy would be into it. Some absolutely gruesome shit. But it's a pretty good like Western style miniseries on Netflix. This one kid like breaks his leg. They show the whole fucking thing, and this other dude like cracks it back in. Oh, it's fucking like it truly, you know, when you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach, almost in your asshole, like when something just grosses you out and you almost like picture it happening to you and how bad it would hurt. That's how I felt during that scene.
Yeah, that I'm not a big fan of that kind of stuff. Like when they came
You're
out
so
that
soft
show,
about that shit.
I am. When they came out that show on MTV called Wrecked or Injured or whatever that was, where it was
Oh,
just constant
fuck.
videos of people skateboarding and getting their fucking bones popped out of their own skin. And like, I think that's sicko behavior to watch that shit.
I think it is. I think it's partially why like the UFC is so popular and violent sports are just naturally so popular is because people love to watch violence as much as they want to look away. I don't know what it is about the human mind. They just love seeing that shit.
Yeah, not my mind. My mind's got enough fucking issues. I don't need to see other people's issues as well. I'm too busy battling my internal problems that I don't need to make them external as well.
I'm actually shocked that you remembered that I'm going to MSG tonight. When I was when I was fucking flying from New Jersey to Tucson, I had a layover in Denver, and I texted you. I'm like, oh, I'm in. You're like, where are you laying over? I'm like, I'm in fucking Denver, dude. You're like, I don't even know what I'm doing, more or less what you're doing. So I'm shocked that you remember that I'm fucking doing something tonight.
Yeah, I'm fucking dialed in. I'm dialed in on your schedule. Is this the point where we start talking about some golf? Should we get there?
Yeah, let's go TGL. Let's get your instant thoughts just 2 days later on. So first of all, if I recall correctly, sorry, that's an Eastbound and Down reference if you don't get that. But they were doing it on Tuesdays, correct? And then they moved it to Mondays. Is that now that there's not football on, did they take Mondays instead of Tuesdays or
I don't know what the plan is. Because I could have sworn it was Tuesday nights as well, but maybe now that football's all over. But they really, when they started it, I don't think maybe it was wild card weekend. And there was one Monday night game, but other than that, there hasn't been a Monday night game since. Or I guess the national championship too. So maybe
that's what it
we're
was?
on to something here, and they're moving on to Monday nights. But either way, we knew they would get the TV bump from Tiger and Rory. The Tiger bump on TV is a very real thing in golf, and is for me still in a PGA Tour event because I'll tune into a good amount of it, mostly on Sundays. And if Tiger's playing, I will make sure I'm at least dialed in on the scores starting Thursday through Thursday, Friday, and then into Saturday, Sunday. But I think take the players out of it. Monday night was by far the most entertaining match, most intense match. We've had a few blowouts, which you can't control. It's sports. That's how it goes. And even though a lot of people took Billy Horschel's comments and thought that maybe the TGL was potentially rigged, which he said tongue in cheek that the producer asked them to keep it close, kind of a mess there. Whether it's true or not, obviously will never come out. But
There's
even
been
if
a
it's
few
not,
blunders between that and then Tom Kim this week being like, I don't think the simulator can pick up a fade. Like that shit. I'm sure Tiger's looking around like you shut your fucking mouth right now, boy. Like
takes him into the fucking back room. He's like, hey, listen up, fucker. This is not how
they,
we conduct things here.
they pull back the curtain and Tiger's got Tom Kim on his knee, fucking spanking his ass like his dad. Just do not talk about the full swing monitors like that. Fucking just giving him the work. I mean, let's be real. So let's just go full breakdown. The monitors, the simulator is not good. It's just flat out not as good of quality. And the fact that they went with full swing instead of TrackMan, not ideal. We had Tiger miss a green 30 yards over the green randomly. You've got guys that strictly fade the ball, Tom Kim-esque, that literally can't get a ball to work left to right. I don't really know. And the PGA Tours is partnered with TrackMan, so I really don't know. I mean, I know why they did it because Tiger and Rory are big investors, so no surprise there. They're fucking wetting their own beak on the back end. But the quality of overall simulator, not great. Uh, the green, some of the great parts. The green is crazy. The banter needs to increase a little bit, and I think we've even talked about bringing in like Kevin Kisner is the king of the shitty golf, but just the fantastic banter, the great personality that he brings to the table. But we got a little bit of both of those the other night, where Rory knocks in a 10-footer, he throws down the hammer, which Spencer just learned about last week. What the hammer is, and then Tiger makes the 10-footer for the push. But from a dramatic standpoint, like that's about as dramatic as it's going to get. There's really nothing on the line. Do you know what I wish they could do? And maybe it's a free idea for them. Maybe they bet their own money. Like each team puts up $100,000 a week, and the winner takes the $100,000. Like they have their own money on the line, because otherwise it's just a fucking hit and giggle out there. It's hee haw at the fuck around gang. So other than that, I mean, I'll read the ratings real quick. So week 1 was the original week. That was Ludwig Aubert, and so that was the Bay and New York. New York already god awful, no surprise. Week 1 was 919,000 viewers on ESPN. Week 2 with Tiger, 1 million plus, so between 1 million and 1.1 million. Week 3 with neither, 682,000, and week 4 with Tiger and Rory, 864,000. So we had discussed after week 2 what the next week was going to look like with no Tiger, no Rory. And that's realistically what it's going to look like most weeks. You're not going to have Tiger Woods, almost 50 years old, out there just engagement farming, trying to get viewers, throwing out the fucking old bull every week to, drive ratings. It's just not going to happen. So you're going to have Tiger Woods guys step up, and just like you said, he moves the needle so much, but that can be a detriment to a league that's leaning so much on one dude, especially that's not healthy and not young. Like you can't be like, well, if Tiger played every time, we'd have great ratings. And it's like, I was about to say something good. I don't know if I should say it or not, but yeah, it just doesn't. You can't run the TGL on that. You can't make sure Tiger plays every week, because eventually he's not going to play and he's going to have to pass it off. And if this thing wants to have longevity, that the week 3 ratings at 682,000, still pretty fucking good, considering the Amex final round had 230,000 people watching it, which is fucking sad. Like, think of that in the grand scheme of America. That's like less than that's like 0.01% of America is watching the TGL, or I'm sorry, the PGA Tour final round at the Amex. Like, that's fucking absurd how low that is. That's pretty sad. But I honestly think that going forward, that 600 to 700,000 person viewer is going to be more in the ballpark of what it is week in and week out, because you can't, like I said, rely on one or two dudes to drive ratings every week. Just doesn't work like that.
No, and I will say that I have a buddy. We have a group chat from a fantasy league on Instagram, and he lives 15 minutes from the SoFi Event Center, or whatever it's called, where they play this. And he was like, I think like they don't talk about golf a ton. They're not big golfers, but they were talking about the TGL on Monday night. And I think he was like, yeah, I think I should go check this out. It's 15 minutes from my house, blah, blah, blah. Comes back 10 minutes later. He's like, never mind. It's $1,000 to get in. So I'm good. And I don't know if that's just a secondary site or what he was looking at, actual tickets, but I think they're really trying to boost up the idea of the owners, and not saying like it's just not an in-person product. I know one of the guys we follow on Instagram and have been following for a while and kind of back and forth, Dan's Golf World. He got a like tour of the back area where the players, like their locker rooms essentially, and their own hitting bays where they warm up, stuff like that. And said it's a really insane product, but I see it as more of just a constant TV product. And not that there doesn't need to be fans in the stands, but them talking to like Mike Trout, who's a partial owner, I think, of one of the teams, and just going on about like all the different Rick Ross is there, or whoever that was, DJ Khaled. And they've got a lot of high profile people in the stands, which remains to be seen. My theory is that they're paying them to be there so that they can interview them. But like Scott Van Pelt being on, it's great. Marty Smith is awesome. I like Marty Smith. And this past week, I felt bad for him because the amount of times he announced that the Duke game was on ESPNU was like overtaking the broadcast for me. He said it 74 times. And then there was multiple different tweets out there of just like screenshots of like 5 people in a row. Where's the Duke game? Why am I watching this fake golf bullshit? What is this fake indoor bullshit? This isn't golf, like, and where's the fucking Duke game? And Marty Smith, like, no joke, at least double-digit times. The Duke game is on ESPNU and will return to ESPN once this match is over. Like, it was insane. But also with the TGL, I really, as a viewer, it's like perfect timing for me. Now, this one started a little bit earlier than normal. I don't know if that's going to be the Monday night thing and they're kind of just moving to this consistent schedule, or it's just a one-off with the Tiger Rory match. But like that time is so dead on TV. It for a West Coast Mountain Time, even maybe Central Time person, where the sports really don't get into it till 7, 8 p.m. Dude, it's like awesome. I don't know what it is about live sports. I've always been just a very live person. Like I don't listen to a ton of podcasts that aren't live, or like I don't listen back to things that were a couple days old because it just feels like weird to me. It feels like I'm kind of going back, not back to the future, back to the past. And so live is all like my day could just be dog shit, like a normal Saturday, but I turn on a live sporting event and I feel like I'm like alive again. I feel like I'm in the world again. I don't know how to explain it.
That is
it's got to be some sort of phobia.
Yeah, that's a weird fucking deal that you got going on. Like, in my opinion, like especially for media purposes, I actually like watching like or listening to like older podcasts. If there's a podcast that I listen to regularly and like I go find one of their like older podcasts, I think that's fun. Like they're like time capsules. You just are so addicted to what's going on right now and having FOMO because you can't miss out on anything that's happening right at the minute that it happens. That I think that's your deal, which is very odd. But I get what you're saying about the time slot. I mean, the time slot is great. It does make sense. But for me, as a viewer, it's definitely something that you just put on in the background. Like, for instance, I mentioned Ted Lasso earlier. We watched like 4 episodes last night. I didn't say a word for like an hour. I just was like dialed. I was thoroughly enjoying the viewership. And I do like to talk, as everybody can tell. But there's times when I just shut the fuck up. Like I just don't talk. I know it's shocking to you, especially.
Really? So it's just putting on Ted Lasso for you is the thing.
It's similar
Maybe
to your
I'll start
son.
using that trick.
Yeah, put Miss Rachel on for your son and Ted Lasso on for me because I'll just stop talking. But for the TGL, like I could be looking at Twitter, I could be looking at social media, I could be making dinner. Like I really don't care enough to watch every single shot. It's not must-see TV by any means, in my opinion. So sure, it's something, and that's the thing with TV is everything's kind of got their place where not everything is going to be must-see riveting television. I almost compare it to like the news. You know, the news is on in the background. You pick up a thing or two from it. But it's not something where you're on the fucking edge of your seat. Like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch Kevin Kisner chunk this 9-iron, and fucking talk a little shit afterwards, fucking about the simulator, about his playing partners. It just doesn't. And I don't know, maybe golf. I feel like I speak for the general golf public in saying that, but I could be wrong. There could be a generation of kids coming up that think real golf sucks and that simulator golf is the way. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of depends upon where you live, and if you have the golf bug, simulators are going to take you over if you live in a place that's the winter and you're really addicted to it, because it's as close as you're going to get to the real thing. You're actually swinging. It's not like a Tiger Woods video game or something like that, but it scratches the itch enough. And I don't know if watching it on TV does that, but I was definitely like, I went off of the Nuggets game on Monday night at the beginning of it to catch the end of the TGL and watch the end of the match, and then the overtime, which was unfortunate. We didn't get Tiger and Rory to hit shots during that, but overall, going into overtime, I think there's you judge it on a curve, the TGL, and I think judging it on a curve, it's doing pretty damn well, as you spoke to the numbers of that versus the American Express. Let's talk a little bit about pace of play on the PGA Tour. I know we've talked about this a lot, but we're not just beating a dead horse here. There's some new stuff that's come out. So why don't you read the tweet, if you have it up, from Dan Rappaport, and then I'll take the Michael Kim tweet and kind of talk about what he talks about, and we'll go from there. And like I said, if you're listening to this and you've listened to our pod a lot, and we appreciate that, we're not beating a dead horse here. There's new stuff that we're going to talk about, so don't skip over this part. Also, if you're watching this on the YouTube, I'm telling myself this, give us a thumbs up if you like this pod. We really appreciate that. That helps other people see it.
Thumbs up.
Where's the bubbles? Where's the
bubbles?
Where
are the bubbles? Give me bubbles.
Yeah, give us a thumbs up. Or if you're listening to this on audio, go find our show, give us a quick rating. We really do appreciate that, and we need all of those that we can get as we move along here in 2025. So we appreciate that. All right, go ahead with the Dan Rappaport tweet.
So it reads, the PGA Tour says they will test allowing players to use distant measuring devices during competition, one of a number of initiatives to try to speed up play. So it sounds like they're now dipping their toe back in the GPS or laser rangefinder pond, which in a vacuum. So go ahead.
I've got a two-part question on this. Now, you can speak to me like you're speaking to your nephew, my son.
Okay.
Don't they pretty much know exactly what the yardage is when they get up to it with the help of their caddy? It takes like an extra 10 seconds, but like, if you have a good caddy, you're pretty dialed on these yardages. Am I not right? Or do they think that the caddy walking up and getting to the ball first and quick shooting it is going to save maybe a few step offs, or them talking about, okay, well, the flag's 137, but the back of the green's 150. We don't want to go over one, speak to me like I'm two. If you think that, or if it doesn't, speak to me like I'm two and telling me that this is going to help pace of play.
No, I definitely think in that scenario, it doesn't make that big of a difference. I think it makes a big difference when a guy is on the wrong fairway and then they get over to the ball, then they walk over to the other fairway, then they find a plate, then they step off to where they think they're at, and then they walk back over to the ball. That turns into a clusterfuck. If you're in the fairway, it should be relatively fast. And that's kind of the point that a lot of people are making is, if you're in the fairway and you're making birdies, like you're on the PGA Tour, which a lot of these guys are hitting fairways, hitting greens, making birdies, why the fuck does it take you 5.5 hours to do that? You watch somebody go out and shoot a $120, you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense why that took longer. But in a lot of cases, those guys are playing faster than these dudes shooting 65, which is insane. But yes, I think that it in a vacuum, and so I actually just saw a new Michael Kim tweet that piggybacked on Dan Rappaport's tweet about the rangefinders. He said, allow rangefinders and outlaw yardage books. Like, if you just flat out outlawed the yardage book, that would actually speed up pace of play. If the only yardages you could get were from shooting it with the rangefinder, then absolutely you would be 100% speeding up pace, because these guys, like, PGA Tour players, are so deliberate. And I understand, like, you're man in the arena, fucking Sunday coming down the stretch, your asshole is, you could fucking create copper wire with how tight your asshole is. Like, you're nervous as fuck and you're trying to slow the game down. Your caddy's job is to slow the game down for you. You don't want to rush through anything. So the caddy is giving you the distance to cover the left bunker. He's giving you the distance to cover the right bunker. He's giving you the number to the ridge in the middle of the green. He's giving you the number that you could hit it with the top number that you don't want to hit it. Like they're giving 7, 8, 9 numbers. It's not just shoot flag, hit flag. And that's kind of the part of the problem with golf. And that's why ultimately, a shot clock would be a little bit of a confusing deal, but that's why the PGA Tour is a $1 billion industry, because they can figure this shit out. And they say that the PGA Tour is nervous about doing a shot clock because of the amount of volunteers it would take. It's like you can't employ an extra 20 people and pay them a living wage and pay for their travel to go and just run the shot clocks. Like the fucking NBA players or NBA teams employ somebody to sit on the bench, run the clock. There's people that are employed to run the clock. Like the PGA Tour has just gotten away with employing so few people, getting all these fucking volunteers and somehow profiting billions and billions of dollars. But it's a 501c3, so it's a nonprofit, so they actually are not profiting billions of dollars. It's just getting dispersed to all the fucking people that back the PGA Tour. Kind of a rabbit hole I just went down there. I apologize. But yes, you need to ultimately outlaw yardage books. That is, and they outlawed green reading books. They outlawed the green books a couple years back. And I think that sped up the greens, but then you got guys fucking plumb bobbing it. They're standing over it from 2 feet, checking what's aim point from on a 2-footer. And that goes for Keegan Bradley. That goes for Ludwig Aubert. That goes for so many of the top guys that it's going to have to be a hard and fast rule. Did you have a second part to that question?
No, it was basically just like, how does that speed up? Does it speed up play or does it not? Because I feel like even with like the tour trackers and stuff, maybe not even a rangefinder, but then I guess then that brings in a whole different group of, but like those guys that go out and mark the yardages. I mean, when you watch a PGA Tour event on your phone, you can tell exactly how many feet a guy is away from the green. You can tell how many yards away he is from the flag. And I feel like that technology could be used to help the players, like as they're walking up to the ball. And like I said, maybe this takes away the integrity of the game, the work from the caddies, but like the spotters that are there in the fairway that just did that for the PGA Tour and got that yardage could just be like, hey, Scottie, it's 168. And then, who knows? Then it goes into, is that guy telling the truth? Could that guy fuck Scottie Scheffler up? His caddy's probably going to check anyways. Then he's going to tell him the distance to clear the front of the green to the back of the green over the left bunker, etc. So dumb fucking idea by me, but I just know that like the technology that you can see on our side as just a viewer on the PGA Tour app is immense. Like you can watch shot for shot and they do a really good job of that, but that could potentially, help speed up pace of play. But let me get into Michael Kim's tweet.
Well,
so this is long. What
go ahead. I was going to say, because I want to piggyback on something that Michael Kim says in this tweet, but go ahead and read that.
So I won't read the whole thing, but I'll just take his bullet points. So first bullet point, yes, there are super slow players out there. They're not ready when it's their turn. Start talking to caddies when it's their turn. Those are the two things that annoy the shit out of me. Like you should be ready to pretty much hit it when it's your turn. Would a shot clock help? ? Yes, it would. I think the threat of the clock itself would really make certain guys faster. Tours shied away from that because it would require more volunteers plus training, which could be an issue. And the inevitable arguments between the shot clock guy and the players could cause a massive headache for everyone involved. Last point, you know what? You all changed me. I'm in favor of it. Let's do it. Start conservatively, but we have to do something because the fans hate it. Maybe counterintuitive, but the focus should not be keeping up with the group ahead. In fact, staying ahead of the group behind you. Trying to keep up only makes the traffic jam worse. That kind of disavows my point that we got into in our bachelor party where I was telling the guys that pace of play doesn't matter because of the group behind you. It matters the group in front of you, which fell on deaf ears. It's kind of one of those things, either you get it or you don't. I'm not going to fucking sit here and PGA Pro it all day with a bunch of guys that play a ton of golf. But that's still just like, whether it's on a bachelor party where we're playing semi-competitive golf, or the PGA Tour, seeing guys just not be ready to hit the ball. I'm a faster player, so it already bothers me, but I'm like, dude, why are you going to stand there with your fucking finger in your belly button for 20 seconds while the other guy's getting his yardages? When your ball's 10 yards up there on the left, you can stand right next to it, do all the shit you need to do in order to hit a good golf shot. while the other guy's hitting. I don't understand that process, whether it's an amateur, a pro, a PGA Tour level player, whatever. Be ready to hit your golf shot when the next guy is hitting and finish his process if you're not in the way of him.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree. And that is the toughest thing to get through people's minds during golf is just a sense of urgency. And it really does take a little bit of time playing golf. Like as a brand new guy, RK's brother-in-law, for example, fucking awesome dude. We had a blast. But there was multiple times where I had to look at him and be like, you can hit. Like, what are you waiting for? And not to be an asshole, but it's just like, go. Especially if you're going to hit it 40 yards, you better do it fucking quick. Like I'm not going to be that guy. It's a bachelor party, but there's just so many times where, like you said, you wait until it's your turn to decide what club to get a yardage to. You should be walking to your ball immediately, right when you fucking leave the tee. You should be walking towards your ball. You should not be walking to somebody else's. And that's where too, like, I hate to be this guy, and I'm probably going to get called an asshole for this, but I hate looking for other people's balls. Like, you worry about your ball, I worry about my ball. I know it, but if I hit it over near you, then yeah, I'll go help you. But if I'm on the complete other side of the fairway, one extra set of eyes, in my opinion, if it's dead, and I just am kind of that asshole that's like, he's not finding that, I'm not looking for that. There's other times where it's like, oh, there's a good chance we can find it, I'll go help. But ultimately, if I'm 100 yards away on the other side of the fairway or in the rough, I'm not going over to that ball because that's going to slow me down. That's going to slow the whole group down. Like, you should have one buddy that helps you look for balls, in my opinion, at least, in order to keep pace of play. But here's another idea that I think would be electric, and I'm sure the players would fucking hate it, but I guarantee it would speed up pace play, is if they find dudes after the fact and they didn't know during the round. So hypothetically, say the first time you go over the shot clock, and this would really, I mean, this would take a lot of like rewatching from a handful of people. They would just have to go through, put a clock on every single time when they got to the ball. And as long as they laid it out beforehand that this is what we expect of you. But if you have 30 seconds and you go over, the first time it's $500. The second time it's $1,000. The third time it's $2,000. Make it where these dudes are scared of going over the shot
clock. Make it permanent.
Make it permanent. Like, what do you think of that? Because I would be, as a PGA Tour player, the threat of the unknown, like that, I guarantee you that would speed up pace. Or if there's a shot that is going to take a little bit of time and you're going to go over, you just lean into it and take your extra time and just know you're going to pay the fine. Like, or it's just going to be taken out of your paycheck at the end of the week. Like, there's really nothing wrong with that, in my opinion, because Michael Kim did bring up, like, what if we're on the 12th at Augusta and there's a gust of wind? Am I just supposed to hit it anyways and watch it go in the water? Like, there is certain times, but going back to like the MLB pitch clock, they get a certain amount of timeouts where, if you're button right up against shot clock, you don't think you can pull the trigger, you get a call for like an extra 30 or something like that. You get like 3 of those around. But ultimately, yeah, there's so many scenarios. I just think we could find a fucking electric way to make it more fun for the viewer, from a standpoint of, are these guys going to go over? What's the story there? But then also just speeding up pace of play and making it a more watchable product.
Yeah, I think on the surface and from our viewpoint, your idea is really good. I just think the players who are the ones that make all the money for the PGA Tour and being their biggest assets, which sometimes the PGA Tour does forget about, but the players know that they're the biggest asset to the tour. And I think that would cause some major, how a lot of athletes have like borderline schizophrenia, like goalies, and they're like, I think that would just send their minds to a blender if they're like worried about they have like an internal clock and they're counting down. Now it's funny in the TGL and it's very televised how quick the shot clock's going, and then you have the heartbeat and stuff. But I think on the actual golf course, those players would absolutely hate it. But I like the idea. And I think the viewership part of it, like if you could see that they were making an infraction and they didn't know, and you're like, like, oh, 500 beans, like you kind of knew. I think as a viewer that would be electric. I just don't think the players would enjoy that at all. And maybe,
dude, could you imagine if
start,
they had like a running total on the TV on the broadcast, like every time they show like just a little like that cash bag emoji, and just run a total of the amount of fines that are being paid that day by various players that have gone over? Like money is always a subject. Everybody loves to talk about money. You see how much money these guys are making. It's always a headline. Could you imagine? It's kind of like watching the 50-50 go up. You're like, holy shit, there's $70,000 in fines today. Like that's kind of electric.
yeah,
I mean,
that would be an additional part of it. That would be pretty hilarious.
ultimately,
like Ricky
though,
Fowler, 3 under par, minus $70,000 in fines.
he's
like just
12,
part of it
12
when
grand
it
in the
shows
hole.
his scorecard and his scoreboard.
I mean, honestly, it's not a terrible idea. And like you said, the players would hate it, but ultimately, and this gets talked about all the time. The fans are the reason that these players can make the money that they make playing a fucking game. It's not all about the players. The players sure, they've got their collective bargaining. The PGA Tour doesn't even have a CBA, I don't think, because maybe they have a union or whatever. But yeah, they can draw a line at certain things, but ultimately it's up to the fan. If the fans want the golf club, or I just fucking short circuited. If the fans want the round sped up, they want that's ultimately who wins, because the fans are the viewers that bring in ad revenue. The ad revenue is what pays the players. It's just a vicious cycle. So if you have nobody watching, like, yeah, go ahead and take fucking 7 hours, but this purse is going to get chopped in half. What do you think the players are going to do? They're going to speed up play 100 times out of 100. So
yeah, I agree with that. Let's get on to the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am coming up this weekend. A lot of big names. Scottie Scheffler back from his ravioli accident, which Rory made a funny comment on that. Like, dude, just get a chef. Scottie Scheffler doesn't seem like a guy that would just purchase a chef. Like, he just isn't that guy. Like, he wants to make his own raviolis, just fucking blue collar as it gets, and I respect that.
So
but
wait, real quick, did you see how he did it with the ravioli, like making the ravioli?
No.
So he was in a rental house over Christmas. I'm not sure where they were, but they didn't have a ravioli cutter and they wanted to make homemade raviolis. So he had a wine glass. He had it flipped upside down and he was cutting the raviolis with the edges of the wine glass, and he had his hand on the base of it, and the fucking base of it broke off and the stem went down into his hand.
Oh my God.
That is
That's like
ultimately
exactly
how,
like me when I was cutting that steak and the fucking knife went right through my thumb. Same.
Yes, exactly, dude. Like,
Scheffler. I just fucking blazing a trail for this guy.
Dude, I just thought about when you did that and like seeing the fucking knife through your thumb, and just that's one of those that gives me the willies again. Like that gives me that feeling in the pit of my stomach. But yeah, like even crazier, it wasn't even a ravioli cutter that you're supposed to make raviolis with. He's just free balling it with a fucking wine glass and smashes the wine glass. He's putting too much pressure on it and sticks the neck of the wine glass through his hand.
That's crazy. But yeah, Scottie Scheffler is back. Wyndham Clark, if you remember, won this last year. So he is the defending champion. And one of my real 54 hole scenario. Hopefully we don't have that again this year. But one of the things that I really enjoy is Pebble's just a great golf course. And it not only is it great for the players and it's just like the history of it, the fact that you can kind of go play. A lot of people get to play Pebble Beach. It's not Augusta National where you have to be very high up in the world to even consider playing it and then have also connections. Pebble's just like a golfer's golf course. And I don't like to boost up a lot of things from California, but overall Pebble's just a great track. Has some very interesting holes. I love the short par 3. That's a blast. The wind is usually blowing, as we saw last year, cutting it short to 54 holes because of the weather. But overall, Pebble's just a great track. And I'm excited to see that. This for me, this is a little dramatic, but this event this weekend is kind of like a real test of where the PGA Tour is at with viewership, with the level of competition, all of those things. Because last year, if you remember, Wyndham won it, and I think Matthew Pavon was up there on the leaderboard, and then I think maybe Xander too. There was like almost a playoff, and it was really intense. Or actually, no, I'm lying. This is a 54 hole. This thing cut off. I'm fucking out of my tree. But I do remember Wyndham and some guys being in it, and there was a lot of talk around this 54 hole tournament. So hopefully that doesn't happen this year. But I think this is a true test of like, okay, where's the PGA Tour at in terms of viewership? Are people like seeing all this slow play stuff that's going around Instagram and kind of deciding to tune out? NFL is off this weekend. It's Pro Bowl only. So they have every chance in the world to kind of make it up this weekend with this event. And Pebble's, like I said, great course. They've added TV cameras and shot link to both courses. So I think they're going in the right direction, but this is going to be a true test this weekend to see where they're at, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we said last week, because Torrey Pines is really the first iconic golf course of the season. But Pebble Beach, the Pro-Am, it does kind of feel – it feels like once the California swing starts, and obviously last week with outside circumstances that didn't really feel like that, but with the field being where it is this week, I think we're going to see the ratings bump. It should be a great tournament like it usually is. I mean, like you said, watching them play Pebble, and oddly enough, I don't know what it is, watching them play Torrey Pines doesn't like get me that excited. It doesn't, the course doesn't necessarily do it for me, but Pebble 100% does it for me. Like watching them play, there's just more iconic holes at Pebble, in my opinion. Like Torrey's definitely an iconic golf course, but Pebble, there's just so many holes where you've seen them so many times. The short par 3, the par 5 dogleg right up the hill with the ocean in the back. Then you've got 9 over the ocean. You've got,
the 18th is the one with like the tree kind of in the middle of the fairway, correct? And then the bunkers running all down the left side. And it's kind of an interesting, like Jordan Spieth's been up in that tree with Greller. And just like an interesting, like, do you hit 3-wood here? And then if you get around the tree, can you hit under the tree and actually get to the green? I've said it multiple times, and I'll say it again. Every golf course should end on a par 5, no matter what.
It's a great risk reward par 5 to end. And the par 3 17th is actually a really good hole too. There's been tournaments won and lost on that hole as well. I think it plays close to 220 yards, probably right into the fan. I'd probably be busting down 3-wood on that bitch, depending on
driver. You'd be hitting hard driver.
I have hit drivers on par 3s before. I don't want to talk about it. That one day at Murphy Creek on 17, I busted driver and came up 10 yards short of the green. That was one of the most wild wind days I've ever played in my entire life. But yeah, I mean, Pebble Beach from a course that is truly, Pebble is a course that you could put a bunch of no names on there and I'd probably still watch, because it's just that quality of a golf course. So I will definitely,
got Mitchell's attention.
It's got the juice for me. I will definitely be tuning in. First weekend with no football in fucking since late August. So I'm reeling. I'm grasping at straws, and thankfully the PGA Tour is swooping in to pick me up a little bit for my girlfriend to hate whatever's on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get to our picks for this week. I'll start with mine. So we've kind of changed up the format here a little bit from what we did last year. We're picking a long shot and alternating and talking about it a little bit, but I'll go with my picks. I have the long shot this week. Keith Mitchell plus 11,000. He's played pretty well here at Pebble the last couple of years. I'm hoping him and his visor can get it done at plus 11,000. Some pretty damn good odds on a guy that, it is a more souped up field with a lot of better players, but I think Mitchell's a guy that can win in those. Denny McCarthy as well. I too have the same kind of styles of golf. Like, these guys are not long hitters by any means. They're just solid all around. And then our boy, Mark Hubbard, plus 750 to top 10. He was T4 here last year, has been playing some really good golf the weeks leading up to this event. He was in the top 5 a couple weekends ago in California as well. So I'm looking at Mark Hubbard there at plus 750 to top 10 and hoping he recreates that top 4 performance from last year at Pebble Beach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind those picks at all. I think Keith Mitchell just like is perfect Pebble Beach material, because you see the old school videos of Pebble in like the 80s with the guys with the visors on. So I could just see Cashmere Keith playing well there. Would love to see Mark Hubbard. And then Denny McCarthy's short game is just absurd. If he can get the putter rolling, he's got a great shot. Plus 7,500. Those are some serious odds. You're taking a big swing. Sunjay M plus 2,500 to win. For me, the guy has just been playing some really, really good golf. I feel like he's due to break through. His ball striking is electric. He just does everything pretty damn well. So I could see him winning. And then Mav McNeely, I would sprinkle in on the W, but plus 360 to top 10. I think his dad, I think he like grew up playing Pebble. His dad is very, very wealthy, and they live on like the 8th hole at Pebble Beach. So I could see him having a good week. I think he's had some good finishes here in the past. So Mav McNeely, he's kind of one of those dudes that feels like he's underperformed on the PGA Tour coming out. He was one of the top amateurs. So I could see him having a good week this week. I know plus 360's a little weak, but maybe sprinkle in a top 5 and maybe a slight sprinkle on the W.
Love that. Love that. And I feel like it's been a little rocky, if you will, the first couple of weeks on the PGA Tour for us and our picks, but we're looking to dial it in here for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. And like I said, I'm really excited to watch this, not from a standpoint of, can we get some big names? Can we get some interesting stories down the stretch on Sunday? No football on. Great opportunity for the PGA Tour and people to kind of relight that flame of wanting to watch golf and be locked in on the PGA Tour again. So looking forward to that. Before we get out of here, though, we're going to wrap up our Wednesday pod with a new-ish segment, a new old segment that we've started and done for a couple weeks, and that's WTF Wednesday. So kind of just something that we're dealing with in life, that it's just like, what is going on here? And I'll start. Obviously, I said I knew Jim. I'm at the rec center here by my work. Every Wednesday and Friday is generally when I like to go, just based on my schedule. I can go there and do all my shit, work out, shower, get right over, walk right over to work. And my What the Fuck Wednesday is just, what are older men specifically doing in the locker room? Because it's just out of pocket, and maybe I'm just soft and I'm not there yet. I'm only 31. So, maybe in 10 years, 15 years, I'll just hang my dick out and shake men's hands while I'm completely naked. But this guy yesterday, or the other day there, I'm changing as I'm getting ready to head to work. And I have these like Steve Madden boots that I'm wearing, and I just hear, "Nice boots, boy." And I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, please tell me he's not talking to me. And then I'm like bent over tying my shoes, and I'm like kind of peeking in my periffs and trying to see the rest of the locker room and see if like there's somebody else there.
You get his hog?
Well, no. So yes and no. So he says nice boots, and I'm like, please don't be talking to me. I see there's no one else in that corner of the locker room. So I'm like, fuck, he's talking to me. So I turn around to be nice and say thank you. And he's fucking 6 feet away, sitting with his legs wide open, completely naked on the fucking bench, staring at me. And I'm like, God damn it, dude. What the fuck is that? Like, and I just like, thank you. He's like, where'd you get those? I'm like, they're Steve Madden. And I fucking packed my shit up and got out of there. It's fucking rattled me. I didn't like it.
Yeah, you've never met somebody with less to lose than a fucking old man in a men's locker room. Those dudes just do not give a single fuck. That they think it is their personal playground, even though they're at a fucking public rec center. It is blasphemy every time I see it. I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, first of all, I want to have that kind of confidence in my own hog to just walk around free balling it. Like I am a towel wrapped around the waist all day guy. And then second of all, it's like, even if you are confident, nobody wants to see that. Like, I don't care who you are. Nobody's gonna be like, wow, dude. But if you should have hit him with the like nice boots, yeah, nice dick, dude. Like really, really looking good today. How's that thing hanging? That would have fucking fucked him up. Okay, so my what the fuck Wednesday is I totally forgot about this, and this shit like is some of the wildest shit I've ever seen. It happened during our bachelor party, and it got sent into the group message after the weekend, and I remembered because everything just kind of, we were all drinking, doing whatever. It just everything kind of seemed to disappear. And then afterwards, we were all sharing photos and videos, and one of the Uber drivers, on our way back from the golf course, brought her pet parrot in the car with her in a mesh cage. And one of the guys, Tucker, at the bachelor party, ended up holding this parrot in the front seat. And we get a video of Tucker just staring at this parrot, and this thing is just going off, like fucking screaming. The driver's talking to the parrot's responding, they're having their own conversation. And these dudes are just sitting in this.
Clyde.
What's his name? Clyde?
Clyde.
Oh my God, dude. That was like, are you fucking serious? Like, Uber drivers do weird things, and a lot of them sometimes get a bad rap. A lot of them are just regular, normal fucking people. But you bring your pet parrot in an Uber, and you somehow think that that's going to like increase the enjoyment of your riders, or you don't need there. In no case do you not have somewhere to like take your parrot. Like, unless you're homeless, which in that case is crazy and you shouldn't have a parrot. How can you not just
Or
leave
be driving Uber?
Yeah, no shit. They're probably not driving Uber. I just don't. In what world do you think it's okay to bring a fucking pet parrot into an Uber and think that people aren't just going to be like, what is this person's deal?
Yeah, pretty unhinged behavior from that lady. And I kind of am sad I wasn't the one in the car, in that specific car.
I would have been pissing my pants.
Yeah, parrots, our aunt in Hawaii had a parrot, and we'd always sleep outside on the back deck when we'd go there as kids, and the parrot would just be chilling on the back deck and fucking chirping it up. But you could say anything and it would fucking Zorba. That was her name. Anything you said, she'd just repeat it. And that was pretty fun, but I don't know about and these weren't short Uber rides to the course either. It's a good hefty 40 minutes with that fucking bird on your lap, dude. No,
I was going to say like maybe 5-10 minutes. Sure. Whatever. But 40 minutes, I'd be like, somebody put this thing on the roof. I don't care. It needs to be out of my lap right now. It was just still watching the video fucking sends me over the moon, fucking cracking up.
Yeah, that was great. Well, that wraps it up for us on this wacky Wednesday. We appreciate you guys all tuning in. Like I said, if you're watching this on the YouTube, go down to that thumb. Just click a thumbs up if you like our pod. If you don't, thumbs down us. I guess that probably helps too. Any pub is a good pub. Follow us on all social medias at Big Drive Energy Golf on Instagram, Big Drive Energy on TikTok. Make sure you don't undownload the app. Mitchell is now TikTokless. He's got to fucking scroll on his phone through Safari like he's in 1987, where they probably didn't even have Safari. But make sure you're following us on those at Big Drive Spence, at Big Drive Mitch, Big Drive Energy on all the socials. Give us a thumbs up on the YouTube, or if you're listening to this podcast audio version, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, go give our show a rating. We'd really appreciate that. Enjoy this weekend watching some golf. I know we've been deep in the football realm, but it's golf time. Pebble Beach, Scottie's back. A lot of players are back. Should be an interesting weekend. Enjoy your weekend. We will talk to you guys on Monday with a new winner of the Pebble Beach Pro-Am and some more golf talk as always. Peace.